Hi, I'm Laura Novak, and I'm so excited to be here today to help you with your wedding photography business. Today is so exciting because I can't wait to share with you the one secret that I include with all of my wedding photography packages. When I think back on being a wedding photographer for the last 10 years, there isn't really one thing in particular that's taken me from a college kid with a camera and a dream to one of the top wedding photographers in my area. Over the years, I've tried a bunch of different things, honestly, some that probably didn't work all so well, and some that made a huge difference. One of the things that made a huge difference in my wedding photography packages was including engagement sessions with every single collection. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, Laura, that's a ton of work. And you know what? It is. But to me, it was a complete game changer. The key to including an engagement session with every package is to get to know the bride and groom well before their wedding day and establish an amazing relationship. So sometimes maybe a client would say, you know, Laura, I don't necessarily need an engagement session. Can you take it off the price of my package? And I would say the session is complimentary being the key word. So if you don't use it, I really can't take any money off of your wedding photography packages. But let me tell you why I think it's important. And then I would talk about how I really think it's such a great way for us to get to know each other before we spend lots of time together on one of the most important days of their lives. And how a lot of people aren't that comfortable in front of the camera, and it gives us an opportunity to get comfortable with one another, and they can get to know my style and I can get to know theirs. Most people were really excited about doing the engagement session, and I found it a wonderful way to get to know each client individually. So what happens during the engagement session? During the engagement session, I try a bunch of different things and really try to see what feels natural for them as a couple. So I might ask them some really honest questions like, do you have a particular side that you like? Or are you comfortable doing this? Are you comfortable in that pose? So for example, if they're really snuggly and they like to kiss a lot, I might put them in a lot of romantic type of poses. But if they're really not into the PDA, I might just have them hold hands and have fun. So throughout the shoot, I try a couple different things, try to see what feels natural for them, and that helps me figure out exactly how to photograph them on the wedding day. So this has been such an important part of my wedding photography coverage. So there's also been many times that, because I think it's so important, that I have tried to squeeze in the engagement session maybe the week of the wedding, if that's the only time that they're in town. Or maybe I would photograph them like 30 days before the wedding when they're in town to do an engagement, in town to get their marriage license. So this has just been, it's just such a huge difference in how I'm greeted when I arrive. A lot of times friends and family ask me if I'm the one that took those amazing engagement photos, and of course I'm so excited I say yes. And it actually, more than anything, I have found that over time it has had the best outcome at all has been that the bride and groom trust me. They trust me a lot more on the wedding day than they would have if I hadn't done the engagement session. And how many of you can look back on a tricky situation that took place on the wedding day and you can completely attribute it to the fact that the client did not trust your advice or opinion? So if I suggest that maybe we go outside on a rainy day with some umbrellas and rain boots on, even though it's a little scary for a lot of brides because they don't want to ruin their dress, I find that the client is much more likely to go with the flow because they trust that I've already gotten great photos of them and that I'm going to work hard to do the same thing for them on their wedding day. So this is a test of your confidence too. At this point in my career, I have photographed brides and grooms in wheelchairs. I photographed brides and grooms of completely different height and weight differences. And I can understand as a photographer that that can feel a little scary if you've never done it before. Well, the engagement session is a great way to practice working with a variety of different people. So if you have a particularly tricky couple, I would highly recommend scheduling that engagement session right after they book and spend a lot of time figuring out exactly what works for them and how to flatter them in the photographs. If they don't like the photos that you took, I have no problem reshooting it because really my number one goal is to walk into the getting ready room on the wedding day and already feel like a trusted member of their family or their bridal party. So, tell me, did you like this video? I would love to know. If you enjoyed it, check out the box below to sign up for more tips and tricks on how to really be so successful in this very challenging world of wedding photography. Thanks again for joining me today, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.